Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast.
I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call.
Central Maine's best comics podcast, by default.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
Here are your hosts, Zach and Jared.
Matt's coming. No. When do we start?
It's Wednesday and or Thursday, so welcome back to the show.
Yes, indeed it is. But it's Tuesday where we are right now in the present, where we live.
Can I give a review?
We span our whole week.
Yeah.
Yes, you may give a review. This is kind of a awkward opening.
No, it's okay. I'd like to get this off my chest.
Okay. No preamble, just right into some sort of vitriol that you have this week.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
I guess it's not that much. It's just more of like, what? I finished X-Files Season 11 this week.
Or Season 2.0. 1.2.
Yeah, the third time that it's come back, because you can count the movie as a second comeback.
All right, so it'd be like version 3.1.
Yeah. Finished this season. I really liked the reboot season 2 years ago. They took a year off in between. There were some low points, but overall it was enjoyable. They've ended the season with this whole big thing. It was like, oh my god, where are they going next?
Outer space?
Oh god, that would have been so much better. Boy, this was a bad season of television.
Oh, so you're saying the season in general sucked?
There was a couple of Monster of the Week episodes that I enjoyed, but anytime they tried to move the plot forward...
Like the story arc of the season?
Yeah. Oh.
Were there any... Like, I haven't watched any of the X-Files.
It sucks so hard.
Is X-Files still creepy as it was when it first came out?
Yeah, there's a couple of creepy ones, but I've more enjoyed the comedic Monster of the Week ones that they've done recently. Like, I always like the ones where they're like...
old school X-Files would, like, scare you.
Yeah, but there were still some funny ones in there.
Like, it wasn't like jump scare, it was like unnerving.
The best X-Files to me were always like, oh, it's not real. Or is it?
Yeah.
Those were always the best ones.
They set it up to be unnerving. And when you grew up on a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, it's very unnerving. I can't watch stuff like that now because I live by myself in the woods.
But boy, they clearly finished the last season and went, we'll figure it out next time. Boy, they didn't figure it out. Boy, did they not figure it out. It wasn't even like we have a master plan. It was we're really making this up as we go.
Does Mulder still believe?
Who the hell knows?
Is the truth out there, Scully?
I don't even know. I don't know. It's really bad. It wasn't any good.
Does Zach Bowen believe in aliens?
Probably.
What do you mean probably? It's a yes or no question.
I believe there are probably micro-organic beings out there or other things. It doesn't really matter.
Technically counts as an alien.
Sure,
so
then yes.
There you go, yeah. It's alien to this world.
Yes, I'm sure that there is something. I'm not like big eyes, gray heads, all that crap.
Did you, there was a UFO sighting this week?
Yeah, that I don't believe.
Well, it was like, hold on, I'll get it out. I'll whip it up. Oh, UFO pants is the first thing that comes up on my Twitter. Oh, yeah, see, this is 4 hours ago. 2 airline pilots report UFO sighting in Arizona.
Yeah, don't believe them.
Two airline pilots on different aircrafts recently reported seeing unidentified flying objects in Arizona airspace. A American Airlines commercial pilot, reported to Albuquerque Air Control between 3:30 and 4:50 in local time. An object seen flying at 40,000 feet was unidentified and had a big reflection. And that audio has been released by the FAA.
I don't care.
The pilot asked whether he thought it was a Google balloon. And he said doubtful. The Drive's military and aviation correspondent reported. Let's see. Another commercial pilot flying nearby also reported a similar object. The whole incident lasted about 6 minutes, and there were no reports of rogue drones. This is back on February 24th. It's possible a weather balloon would be in airspace, but they're regularly launched in the U.S. and not mandated to report to the FAA. Here we go with that weather balloon crap again.
Yeah, okay, I don't care. Let's do the news.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
I just did the news.
You did different news.
Question. This is an important question. This is a news question that you can... I think this would be a good place to discuss it and lay out that plan. It's going to be a crazy busy summer in Hollowell. And there's... Yeah, I know. You know where I'm going with this.
No, not really.
Okay.
It's gonna suck.
Yeah, well, see, you know where I'm going with this, though. The construction starts next week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have plans? Obviously you're staying open throughout this whole Hollowell Big Dig, but what are the best ways that we can access the store during this time? I figured I'd ask you now before I forgot.
I don't even know, because I don't know what it looks like yet.
You had like a test run the other day, those CMP trucks out front.
Oh, they're worse today.
Oh, really?
They're going to kill the power a little bit tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
But yeah.
What a time to be alive.
I don't know.
Is this why you shaved your head?
Yes. It's Brittany, bitch.
You're just in such distraughtness.
I don't know. I really don't know until I actually see. Because, I mean, you read all the reports, but until it's actually executed, I don't know the best answers.
Has anyone actually come to you from, like, the DOT or the city of Hollowell and said, what can we do to help you?
No.
Have they, like, come to explain?
There's been active people in the town who have been trying to do things, but no one, like, official from, like, DOT, no.
You probably didn't go to those informational meetings, did you?
I was working during all of them.
Oh, you couldn't get, like, a little pamphlet? You could be like, hi, I have a business. I'm, like, running it. If I could, like, you give me a little 4-in-1, where can I tell my customers to park? How is it going to be
I know there's
to and from me?
Online. There is going to be another law opening up on the street, which is nice, but we'll see what it means.
Oh, well, there you go.
Speaking of places going out of business.
Whoa.
Los Angeles' most popular comic book store, one of the biggest ones in the country, probably the world. A staple of comic book stores, been in business for 25 years. Meltdown Comics is going out of business. A company that survived the market crash of the 90s can't survive this.
How does this make you feel?
Not great. Because we're going over the numbers every month where they're just like decreasing. Come on, people, buy some books. You want some suggestions? There's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of stuff to jump onto. Also coming up very soon for both the big two. And there's a bunch of good indie books out too. But yeah, boy, come on. We got to buy some comics, people. Because the industry is hurting. And the big ones are going under. The big ones who have survived the worst the market's ever been. That's kind of scary. I don't think it's been quite labeled yet. But I'm kind of afraid that these few years in this period are going to be the second worst time comics has ever had, sales-wise.
What better time to open up a small shop?
Yeah, right? I'm not clairvoyant. I didn't know.
Oh. Can I get that in writing?
Well, when people ask me, sometimes they'll be like, is this one going to be worth money? Is this one going to be worth money? If I knew that, I wouldn't be just selling everything for equal price.
Reasonable thoughts. Do you keep one of everything just in case it does become...
No, never.
Oh.
Never.
Do you ever, think,
yeah, there's sometimes, I should have hung on to one of those. Yes, that thought has crossed my mind, but I don't play with the speculator market.
Okay. You're more of a goods and services guy and not a futures guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other people do that. And when I say, I don't know if other shops do it. I don't really play that game.
Oh.
I know plenty of customers that do, but I am buying the merchandise to sell the merchandise, not buying the merchandise to hoard the merchandise.
Good use of the word hoard.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, so major comic book staple Meltdown Comics is ending. I don't know, guys. Scary times.
Let's keep a positive outbeat. The reconstruction of Water Street could be the reconstruction of comics in Hollowell.
I was thinking about it earlier this week. I'm like, what is it that's hurting the market? I don't know the answer. Is it about trying to keep old customers and getting them to diversify, or is it about trying to get more new people in? Is it about the price point? Is it about doing a bi-monthly book versus a monthly book? There's positives and negatives to everything, and I don't think there's a solid answer. Or maybe there is, but I sure as hell don't know it.
You can always open up a tattoo shop. Hollowell doesn't have enough of those.
Yeah.
In your building.
Actually, you know what? I think we've lost a couple antique shops lately. That used to be Hollowell's bread and butter. I'm getting one in.
Right across from the antique mall.
Yeah. But, we've lost 2 of them recently.
Yeah, well, antiques aren't what they used to be.
It was a new business.
Come on, that was funny.
Yeah. There's a new business that opened up. I gotta check out what it is.
Really?
Well, I just drove by. It's now open. I'm like, what are you?
Oh, is that Mulligan's down in the corner?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's just like a little convenience store type thing.
Wait, Mulligan's?
It's like Mulligan's too. Well, no, it's a separate. It's owned by the same people, but it's like a sandwichy Mulligan's.
All right. Something I didn't show you, but I thought was kind of interesting, just because there's no point in really, you wouldn't have cared.
Okay, well.
And also a book that I don't keep up with, just because it's not a franchise I'm interested in, but whatever. And you know what, I'm leading into this poorly. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, that they did that movie.
Well, there's a couple of ongoing comics right now, but they did something interesting. I don't think I've ever seen it. Maybe there's an example of that I just can't think of. But they did a live-action trailer starring the guy who's the most popular Power Ranger.
The Red Ranger?
The green one.
Oh, the green one?
I forget his name. He's at every con that I do. He's
the Blue Ranger.
No, I don't see him at any cons. I'm sure there's been Blue Rangers. I don't know, man. I don't know Power Rangers.
There's 6 colors, 5 colors.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they did a live-action trailer starring the most popular Power Ranger for this comic book miniseries that starts this week, which I've never seen that before. And I thought it was really well-produced and really well-shot. I was like, the hell is this?
It's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, man.
It was just cool.
It's morphin time. That's what it is.
Just to be able to utilize, crossing the streams mediums-wise.
Oh, wow. Look at you, full of reference tonight.
I don't know. I just thought that was a neat thing. It's worth checking out. I think they call it Shattered Grid. Even if you don't care about Power Rangers, it's just this weird little...
video?
Yeah, it's a weird little blip in the world of comics. Let's get to some upbeat news. Hey, do you remember 1996?
Vaguely. I remember there was a hot album that year.
What album?
Spice World.
Damn right it was Spice World.
Oh, yeah!
Because the Spice Girls are back, baby.
Oh, I can't believe they ever left.
Yeah, they had 2 songs in 1 year, and somehow that...
Oh, it was more than 2 songs.
It was 2 songs.
Come on. Just 2 songs off Spice... You'd obviously never listened to Spice World in its entirety.
There were only 2 songs that they had.
I am man enough to admit I listened to that album in its entirety.
The Spice Girls are reuniting, not for a tour or for the royal wedding, as it's been rumored.
No?
Well, they still might be, but...
Oh.
But they are reuniting for an animated superhero movie. Now, stay with me. They've approved the likenesses, but they haven't actually sold it to a studio, which means no one gives a crap. But all of the characters are going to be based on their individual personalities. I don't remember what all their... What, there was Sporty Spice?
Sporty.
So, guess that...
Without looking, I'm going to remember them.
Okay.
Sporty, Posh, Scary, Baby, and Ginger. Booyah!
Alright, so...
I love it!
Going off
By the way, the album came out in 97, but close enough.
Okay, so their personalities. Sporty will be the athletic one. I assume that Baby will just tell you what she really, really was.
Okay.
I assume Ginger Spice will just shoot fire from below the waistline.
I'm not gonna validate you.
Was the other one Scary, so she's probably just a bitch. And Posh, an upscale bitch.
Spice did come out in 96, the first album. That had 4 singles that came out of it. Wanna Be, If You Wanna Be My Lover. Then Say You'll Be There.
I don't remember.
To Become One, that was their sexy song. Their sexy time song. And then Mama.
That one I definitely don't remember.
I don't remember that one, but To Become One. Oof. I need some love like I never needed love before.
So yeah, that's the thing that's happening.
I'm going to listen to Spice Girls tonight.
Great, good for you.
Why not?
Hey, you know what movies are definitely going to be successful?
Spice World?
That already happened.
Oh.
2 decades ago.
Was it really 2 decades ago?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I think that's why they have to be animated. You can't actually have that much facial movement with Botox.
Oh, of course you can.
But Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, definite smash hits, not going to be terrible, they'll be the worst, have both been pushed back. New Mutants has already been pushed back once. New Mutants was supposed to be out next month originally. Then it was pushed back to February of next year. And now pushed back even further to August of next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big time pushback.
That movie has been pushed back 16 months from its original release date. I bet it's going to be a smash hit.
The best.
Yeah. Dark Phoenix has been pushed back from November of this year to Valentine's Day. Take a date. Take a lover. Take an enemy. It's going to be crap.
Spice Girls had a Greatest Hits album. It was longer than any of their other albums.
Jesus.
Let's see, that's how much I care about the Dark Phoenix.
You don't.
Yeah, I don't. You told me I wouldn't.
It's going to be terrible.
Okay, good to know. All right, I'm done looking at the Spice Girls.
Well, I have a thing for you.
Is it more Spice Girls?
No.
Oh.
That's the only time we'll ever talk about the Spice Girls on the show.
I'm going to find a way to talk about the Spice Girls next week. If we talk about BMB every week, we're going to start talking about the SG every week.
Hey, speaking of...
What is Bendis up to now?
We're gabbing about Bendis. It's this week's news about Brian Michael Bendis.
Bendis.
I don't remember singing the We're Gabbing About Bendis.
I don't think that was us.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome to this segment that I've somehow trapped myself into doing week to week, looking up what this man is doing.
You know, that's almost borderline stalking.
In the 1 week that we get the theme...
There's no Bendis news?
Oh my god, I was really scraping the bottom of the barrel. I had a story prepped, but then last night, Twitter answered my prayers.
Yay, Twitter!
Because I just checked Twitter, and at the top of my Twitter feed, because now I have to follow Bendis. He tweets too much, but now I have to because of the stupid segment. He's like, sorry, I've been hacked. So I clicked on his profile, and it was like, hey, check out these aviator sunglasses for $12.99 at this link. And then a few minutes later, I get a tweet from Bendis himself.
Really?
Whatever this hack or bot was, it was just going through all of his followers and tweeting at them 3 at a time.
Oh, wow.
To buy these aviator sunglasses.
Did you buy a pair of the aviator sunglasses?
I chose not to. He later apologized and said, hey guys, if I ever tell you to buy sunglasses, I promise I'll tell you to buy something better.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. We should have him on the show.
And then a little more Bendis news. Coming out this week is his final issue of Jessica Jones. He writes a very nice afterword in it about his time on the character, that he can't do her anymore because even though he made her with a co-creator, you know, Marvel owns her and whatnot. So he said goodbye forever to Jessica Jones this week.
I think you should rephrase that.
How?
You said he can't do her anymore.
Oh. Well, he never could. She was fictional.
Much like most of my girlfriends, yes. I know how
they
you
live
feel.
in Canada? Do they have a modeling career?
Of course they do. A hot Canadian model. Maple syrup, flannel, and some sort of like grizzly bear or something.
But that was the Bendis story, because that was a thing we have to do every week now until the end of time.
Wow, that's a long time.
Until we bend to space and time, we have to do it.
Oh, come on. That's terrible.
Chris Evans has announced that thing we all knew for a long time.
Yeah, and Avengers 4 is the last time he'll play Cap.
Yeah.
Is that opening the door for what's his face who's playing Sam Wilson to become Captain America?
I think they'll go Bucky, mostly based on picture deals. I don't know what Anthony Mackie's deal is, but Sebastian Stan had a 9-picture deal from the get-go with the first Captain America movie.
Well, his 30 seconds in Black Panther count as a picture.
Unclear.
Usually you say they do.
I think it depends on the actor.
Do you think they've changed that ever since Samuel L. Jackson burned up through his contract like that?
I think Chris Evans was the one who redefined it. Because I've told this on this show before, but he originally had a 6-picture deal, and then they extended it by 1 movie.
Well, that must mean Cap's dying in the second Avengers part.
I mean, he doesn't need to, but probably.
Yeah.
But then he also did 2 bits in Thor and a bit in Spider-Man. But originally he said, like, if they make me do a cameo, that's going to count. But then it didn't count. So I think it all depends on the actor and the deal. So I have no idea if the Winter Soldier popping up in Black Panther counts on the contract or not.
Noted.
Yeah, but so he is all done. But on, I guess, sad and positive news, Fox News anchor tweeted out yesterday that she ran into an uncle of someone whose nephew was dying of cancer, like in the next couple of days, which is sad. But kind of his like dying wish was to get to talk to one of the Avengers. So I don't remember the Fox News anchor's name, and I didn't write it down. Sorry. We're doing this one off the top of the dome, but she put it out on Twitter, like, "Hey, Twitter friends, can we try and get someone to notice this?" And then CNN's Jake Tapper picked it up. And he put it out to people. Mm-hmm. Fox and CNN coming together. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow, who would have thought?
Yeah.
The Avengers can bring anyone together.
But then a bunch of them, like Chris Evans did it, Paul Bettany did it, Elizabeth Olsen did it, Chris Pratt did it, Paul Rudd did it, and there was a few others in there as well. And one of my favorite, Ryan Reynolds did it. He's like, I'm more of a reserve Avenger, but I can send him a message too.
Oh, that's awesome.
And also Zachary Levi, who's going to be Shazam. So on the DC side of the fence. So, we're crossing all kinds of fences. CNN and Fox, Marvel and DC. He's like, hey, I can call him in and do an impression of Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, and any other Chris you might need me to do an impression of.
Wow.
So,
Chris from accounting.
Or Chris Pine.
He's not an Avenger.
No. But, I mean, obviously, sad that this young boy is dying of cancer. But it's always nice when you can see people coming together and when you kind of can see all the bullshit of the world drop away and just, like, know when people need to come together for something nice. It's always good to see people who are, like, using their roles as superhero to actually be someone's, like, hero even for, like, a moment or a day or whatever. So always a nice little story.
You know who really does a really good job with that? And I've seen a bunch of videos of it. And he actually owns a costume and he does it.
Talk about that Batman guy?
No, not the Batman guy. It's a legitimate real actor dressing up in character and visiting children's hospitals.
I've seen Chris Pratt and Chris Evans do it.
Johnny Depp is Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah, when he's not beating his wife.
It got dark real fast.
Yeah.
Well,
not a good guy.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
It's a good movie.
Probably better than going as Edward Scissorhands. Wow, that took a dark turn.
Sorry. I was just saying trying to find a good segue story.
You know what that was? That was that meme of the car trying to hit the exit ramp, and I'm like going straight down. I'm like, oh, Johnny Depp does something nice. And like wife beating. You know the meme I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where the car's like...
No, I don't, but I'm going to move on.
All right, well, I'm going to pull it up while you're moving on.
I'm going to move on to comic book news.
Okay, because I don't really know anything about comic book news.
Frank Miller, one of the greats.
He wrote that Batman thing.
Batman, Daredevil, Ronin 300, Sin City, and some other stuff. One of the greats of all time. Love him or hate him since, I don't know, about 1997. He has signed a 5-book deal with DC. One of them we've already talked about in the past, doing Superman Year 1 with John Romita Jr. One of the other ones that he's announced he's going to do a Carrie Kelly-focused story. Carrie Kelly was the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns. Plus 3 other books. I don't know. Frank went away for a while, and now he's kind of back, but slow. I don't know. If he can do something good, great, and it's not going to ruin any work that he's done in the past, but I really haven't been on board for a Frank Miller book in a while, so we'll see.
So this is an example?
No, I haven't seen that name. Good to know.
Yes. Get on it.
A little bit more comic book news. Spinning out of Dark Knight's metal, there are going to be 2 additional Justice League books. One of them being Justice League Dark, and the other one being Justice League Odyssey. They both have relatively interesting teams, not your typical ones. Justice League Dark will have Zatanna, Swamp Thing, one of my favorites, Man-Bat, Detective Chimp.
What the f***?
He's a chimp that's a detective. He has a little Sherlock Holmes hat.
Detective Chimp, Man-Bat.
Yes, Man-Bat. Hey, Detective Chimp, man, DC. He's DC's DC.
My God.
AC, DC.
Back in black. You've got the Jack.
But yeah, that's a pretty mixed up team. And they've done Justice League Dark in the past, and usually it is traditionally, morally great characters. But it's interesting having Wonder Woman on that book and Detective Chimp. So I'll read a book with Detective Chimp in it. Also, Justice League Odyssey, which is going to have Cyborg, Starfire, Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz, Azrael, and wait for it,
Detective Chimp.
Darkseid.
Detective Chimp.
The other book. Look, do you want to read some Detective Chimp? We could read some Detective Chimp.
At this point, I feel like I have to.
Yeah, so Darkseid is going to be on a Justice League book. That's a first. Also, I think for Detective Chimp, I don't think he's been in a Justice League book either.
Is he really going to be in a Justice League book?
Yeah, both of those are real.
And Man-Bat?
Man-Bat's also real.
And they're in the Justice League book.
Yeah.
The Justice League is just letting anybody in there.
I know.
Before you know it, Bear Woman's going to be part of this.
I don't think there's a bear woman, but I appreciate your attempt.
Thank you.
There was a book last year, Shirtless Bear Fighter. It was pretty funny.
I want it. Yes, please.
Maybe we could do that for an episode. Oh, by the way, it's not just a shirt he's missing for a log of it. It's all pixelated out and about 2 feet long.
Well, if he has that.
And a hell of a beard.
That's what I'm looking for. It's modeled after me.
No.
Oh, you're right. It's not 2 feet long. It's 1.5 feet. My beard. What, Lizard Boy not available this week or what?
And then upcoming in cable, because
Man-Bat. Was Man-Bat is he what happened to Bat Boy from the National Enquirer? Did he grow up and get his own comic book?
That, yeah.
Oh.
No, his name, Kurt Lazarus. He has an experiment that turns him into Man-Bat. It's kind of a dark, tragic character.
Isn't Kurt Lazarus the name of the character from Tropic Thunder?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
It is, I believe.
Maybe him mixing up names.
Let me fact check the show on Man-Bat.
It's a good character. In cable number 158, the original X-Force team reunites, I think for the first time since the 90s. But speaking of X-Force, found a segue story.
Oh, wow, good for you.
Deadpool's third trailer dropped, and boy, was I underwhelmed.
Oh, wow, this guy's got some fucking issues.
Talk about Man-Bat?
Yeah, he's kind of, whoa.
We're talking about Deadpool now.
Yeah, well, does he fight Man-Bat?
No, different company.
Man-Bat's fucking jacked, dude. He's wearing some jeans in this picture.
You're cursing more than the Deadpool trailer, which does it far too often. At 26.5 it averaged out every 26.5 seconds there was another curse.
His alter ego is Robert Kirkland Langstrom.
Oh, Kurt Langstrom.
Yeah.
I never heard anyone call him Robert, but sure.
Anyway, sorry.
Deadpool trailer. I didn't like it. Yes, that's Man-Bat. Thank you. Get over Man-Bat.
I'm having.
Do we need to watch On Leather Wings?
What the? No.
That was an animated series episode.
Okay, moving on. You didn't like the trailer?
Not really.
Why not?
I don't know. I felt kind of underwhelmed. It kind of felt like more of the same. And I don't care if they curse a ton in the movie, but when you're trying to sell it on that, I just don't care. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You can say fuck. Woo! That's not appealing to me.
Do you think it's more of the same of them trying to show how different it is? If that makes any sense.
But what I want to see is how I want to see it be different from the first one, and what I'm seeing is just more of the same. But
isn't that
the last couple of trailers I liked? I liked the whole silly Bob Ross thing. I liked doing the introduction of Cable being like, "Hang on, we haven't green screened his arm and all that stuff." But this one felt like a more paint by numbers kind of quirky and irreverent. Not to say that I disliked all of the trailer, but I was just very underwhelmed, and I've enjoyed the trailers up until this one.
Do you think it has to do with the fact that it wasn't different like the other trailers have been different, like the Bob Ross one?
Maybe it might have just because
now you got your standard. It's your standard fare trailer. It's your regular.
Because even that original tease that we got that had nothing to do with it for whatever movie we saw it with forever ago, where he did the report of the old man in the sea at the end of it. He's getting changed to the phone booth.
Oh yeah, the guy died. The guy gets shot.
Stuff like that.
That was at the end of Civil War.
Was it Civil War? Yeah, it might have been. But yeah, I mean, these have been fun trailers up until this point. This one I was just my favorite gag from it was from the studio that brought you 27 dresses and The Devil Wears Prada. That was the best gag in it. It had nothing to do with the movie.
Yes, I did audibly chuckle at that.
But since I didn't like this trailer, I did a breakdown!
So you must have really hated it.
Like I said, they curse every 26.5 seconds.
So you really got to the next level stats with Zach. You have been watching more sports ball recently.
Something interesting for me, when you usually have trailers that have cursing and blood and all that stuff, up until this point, I think this is the first example I could think of within, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but you'll get a green band trailer, which is kind of the calmer version, and Deadpool did this for the last movie, and then the red band trailer, which is all the cursing and the blood or blah, blah, blah. They didn't do that. This was just, here's the trailer.
Yeah, we're going for it.
Yeah.
There was a decapitation in it?
The opening reminded me a lot of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he's running for the plane.
Yeah.
Jock!
I hate snakes, Jock! Apparently we get to see Deadpool strip on a pole. That's not really an insight to it. That was just a thing that I saw. I'm there he is, stripping. Within his apartment, you see, there's some Deadpool toys in there, but there's also a Superman toy.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was crossing the company. With Cable and Deadpool in this story, we're seeing some similarities to past stories from the comics. Cable, especially aesthetically, the cloak that he's wearing, kind of like the half-shoulder thing, it reminds me a lot of his semi-adoptive daughter, Hope. She wears a very similar cloak to that. And I think we're getting partially a similar story to when Hope first came into the books. Very quick summary, and I think Cable's role is switching here. Cable took this mutant into the future, and he started time traveling a bunch with her and like hopping from time to time to try and outrun Bishop, who we saw in Days of Future Past, who's also a time traveler, who's trying to hunt her down and kill her to prevent a future. So I think we're seeing Cable more in the Bishop role here. But we also see that Deadpool's supposed to be protecting a kid. I have no idea who this kid is. Couldn't figure it out. But Deadpool's run in like about 2010 in X-Force, he was trying to protect this kid from being killed. Kid also ends up eating a bullet to the brain.
Ooh.
So, he didn't do very good.
No.
But it reminds me a bit of that Deadpool trying to protect the kid in X-Force and also of, the Cable Bishop story. So I think we're going to get elements from both of those stories kind of rolled into one, and with Cable switching roles with Bishop. In Deadpool's apartment, we see a picture of Deadpool. There's some stuff that I don't like. I always hate it when we see photos in movies that are just stills from the previous movie. Like, there was no camera there. It's just a still. It always bugs me.
Okay.
Who's taking that picture? The cameraman? But we also see one that I thought was funny is we see a fun little nod to all the time travel that's happening here. We see a photo of Wade wearing Marty McFly Jr.'s hat from Back to the Future 2.
I did see that, yes.
Yeah. We get a little bit more Terry Crews in this trailer. We only briefly saw him in the last one. A lot of people thought that he was going to be the character G.W. Bridge. He's not. He's going to be a character named Bedlam. We see Deadpool flipping through some files for X-Force.
I hope Terry Crews does that thing where he flexes his pecs.
He can do that. He can do it real well.
He's a well put together individual.
So we know that Terry Crews is now Bedlam. There's also been a few cast members who it's been unclear what role they're going to be playing. We do see Deadpool roll past a guy named Peter. I assume that's going to be Pete Wisdom, who's a previous X-Force member. And then we see a girl with an electric whip, and I have no friggin' idea who that is.
Good for her, though, for having an electric whip.
I don't know who it is.
Whiplash. Whiplash's daughter.
Quiplash.
Oh, yes. It's a good game.
And then we do get the formation of X-Force. And, to end this trailer breakdown on a little bit of a downer, it's like, oh, they still kept TJ Miller in there. I'd be curious what they do with his role. He's had some trouble recently.
A little bit.
What with, hitting his Uber driver in the back of the head, having accounts come out of him choking and punching a girl non-consensually during sex, and also being fired from Silicon Valley, and everyone in Hollywood coming out and saying he's the biggest asshole around. I was kind of surprised to see any of him in the trailer.
That's not a good look for him.
Yeah, it's just like, why is he still here?
Why is he still a thing?
Yeah, it's mostly that choking and punching a woman during sex, though.
Non-consensually.
Can you consensually punch someone?
Can I punch you?
No.
Okay, see? I'm not punching you. But if you
Okay.
said, can I punch you lightly?
No.
Okay, see?
Don't touch me.
I'm still not going to punch you, see? But if someone was like, yes, you can punch me, maybe they have a safety word.
Last bit of news. Earlier tonight, I was watching some Last Jedi special features, and I'm not going to spoil it, but they flat out tell you what the dice in the Millennium Falcon are.
Oh.
I'm not going to spoil it because that movie's coming out in, 2 months or something.
Oh, from the Solo movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But one guy, he's just like, oh yeah, and we were recreating the dice, and this is what they are. It's like, oh, don't think anyone's ever said that officially.
Oh.
Well, that's out.
It's canon now.
So if you want to see what the dice are for in Han Solo, go watch The Last Jedi special features.
Okay. I'm sure they'll explain it in the Han Solo
Or just wait
Solo
for the
movie.
end of the movie.
The Han Solo.
Yeah. Disney Solo bomb of the year.
I don't think it'll bomb.
We'll see.
I mean, you can't compare it to, Rogue One. It's not going to be on the same
Of course
plane
you can. It's literally the exact same areas in these, side story movies. If there's anything you can compare it to, I would compare it to Rogue One.
But Rogue One was good.
We don't know what this one's going to be yet.
You are already panning it, and you haven't seen it yet.
From there, and I wrote this down because I forgot to do it last week.
Yeah, I know you did. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to.
Oh, did you notice in the moment?
I did.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. I didn't want to overtake the show.
I'm still getting used to
Although
this
we know that I
format.
bring the highest ratings.
It's time for Jared's sports reports.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. Bare-chested. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
It's time for another Jared Sports Report.
Reports those sports.
Hello, sports fans. Let's see.
And the rest.
And those of you who aren't. the NBA season is drawing to a close. The Celtics look like they're locked in the number 2 seed. Kyrie Irving had what they called a minor procedure on his knee to remove a tension wire because he's had knee troubles in the past.
What did they say? He was out for 3 to 6 weeks?
3 to 6 weeks, and the playoffs start in about 3 weeks. Yeah. So I think it's optimistic that he'd be back for that first round. Who knows? There's been a lot of rumor and speculation that Gordon Hayward may be activated for the playoffs. Don't hold your breath. I think the Celtics are going to sit on him for another year, and just it is what it is. You got Kyrie coming back. There's no need to push back, especially where Kyrie's kind of in the middle stage of his career. He's playing at a high level, but he's a long-term commodity in Boston, and you don't want to screw that up.
He's their best
player.
Best player, but
those
points per game is about twice anyone else is doing.
So let me make this a lot easier. Instead of trying to quantify it, let's just be a blanket statement. He's their best player. Yeah. So you've got that. What else is exciting? The Bruins playing really well, and they're starting to get healthy again as well as they get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which are also right around the corner. Red Sox open up the regular season at the end of the week. I believe they're in Tampa, but they'll be opening up at Fenway soon. Or are they opening up at Fenway this weekend? Stand by, sports fans. I can't remember if they're opening up. It's very rare that the Sox open up at home for their season opener. Let's see, Red Sox season opener. But I think their last spring training game is either tonight or it was last night. Come on.
It's okay at the world of podcasting. It was instantaneous.
I know.
I always catch that when I hear people look things up on podcasts, and they pull it up instantly. I'm like, edit.
Yeah, the Sox open up their regular season on Thursday against the Tampa Bay Rays. It's their earliest earliest season opener since 2008. That was the year after they won their second World Series of this century, and I believe that's also the year that they went to Japan and played 2 games and came back and played some exhibition games at the Coliseum in LA. What else is interesting? The NFL winter meetings are wrapping up or getting close to wrapping up. They've redefined what a catch is. They've added some clarification to the targeting rule. And Bill Belichick skipped out on the coach's picture again this year.
I mean, they could just Photoshop him and he'd just have his arms crossed with the hood up.
They could, yes.
And no one would know the difference.
What other sports news? Danny Amendola and his girlfriend broke up. His really attractive model girlfriend. Did we talk about... Oh, yeah, we didn't, because last week we didn't do sports. Danny Amendola is now in Miami. But that's okay.
I'm sorry I skipped it last... I didn't
because Jason and Devin McCourty, the twins, are now on the same team. So Devin McCourty's twin brother Jason is now a member of the New England Patriots. That also happened in our 2-week hiatus from sports, because you forgot.
It's still due.
It's still due?
Still new. New. It's still a new segment. I haven't fully worked it out yet.
That was a pretty good sports segment right there. That was some hard-hitting sports stuff.
Didn't Tatum pass some kind of milestone? I forgot. I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but
it's
whatever.
Like the first 1,000 points.
Oh, he's in the top 5. It was the top 5 rookies to score 1,000 points. Of course, Larry Bird is number 1 on that list.
That's fair.
He's like 1,007 points.
I guess from there we'll move on to another segment named after you.
Yes, this back half of the show is really about me.
Since Avengers Infinity War is coming out, we thought we'd go back and talk about one of the Avengers, who, based on a TV spot, we see that Spider-Man's now officially an Avenger. Deal with it. It's fine. He's in the movie, so...
Yes.
Not a spoiler. We're going to talk about the origin of Spider-Man, going back to 1962 with Amazing Fantasy 15 in an all-new Jared's Reading Corner.
Yay!
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
As I do with this thing, I'm going to give some background before you talk.
Okay, cool.
So, Spider-Man. His main title, Amazing Spider-Man, is about to reach 800 issues. But that's not where he started. Oh no, sir. He originally started in the pages of Amazing Fantasy. Amazing Fantasy ended with Amazing Fantasy 15. That book was on the chopping block. What happened in Amazing Fantasy 1 through 14? I don't know, and I don't care.
We had to do some research on that.
Well, people only care about one of the Amazing Fantasy books, and it's Amazing Fantasy 15, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man. Written by Stan Lee with art by Steve Ditko. Now, what's interesting about even that sentence there is some debate about who is the actual originator of the Spider-Man design. Originally, and some of this I could say, this part is fact. Stan Lee originally went to Jack Kirby and said, hey, let's do this book Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack did some stuff up, and apparently Stan didn't like it and went to Steve, and then Steve, and now this is where we get into speculation. According to Steve Ditko, who's still alive and hates everyone.
Okay.
Unrelated, he does. He did the full Spider-Man design. Kirby will contend that Ditko just updated the design that he had already originated. So there's always a back and forth of who actually made the Spider-Man design. Realistically, just based on general comics history, I would probably say, without solid images to back them up, that it's probably a combination of the two of them. You'll get people who say it's one or the other. Definite. I would say that it's definitely an unknown quantity of who. I think Ditko probably did more. Would be my guess, but that's about all I can say.
All right, that's fair.
But even that, I don't know if that's true. That's just an assumption. Even on the cover itself, Steve Ditko was supposed to do the cover, and then Stan threw that out and asked Jack to do the cover.
So Jack did the cover?
Jack did the pencils and Steve did the inks, compared to the interior where Steve Ditko did the pencils. Inkers at this time weren't usually credited. If you go online, you can probably find who the inker was, but Marvel wasn't great about crediting.
I see this guy's face that looks like a Kirby face.
Yeah, so yeah, the cover is Kirby, and the inks are Ditko, and Kirby has said in the past, because they did a few things together, that Ditko is always his favorite inker. And as far as origin of the character, up until this point in time, and teenagers had always been treated as the sidekick, and they could potentially be the point of view character, the character that you could picture yourself being, I'm just a little 6-year-old boy in Brooklyn who's reading about comics, and I could imagine myself being Bucky and being Captain America's partner and stuff like that. But the sidekick was never the focus. So Stan, and whenever Stan retells stuff, I always think there's a added sense of sensationalism to him, which isn't a bad thing. But Stan's I want to make the character relatable and flawed and not just this perfect idealized thing, which had been kind of the format for superheroes. So I went to his publisher Martin Goodman. He's I want to do this character Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
We both have terrible Stans.
Yes.
And Martin Goodman, who's spiders are gross, no one wants to do that. Also, no one gives a crap about teenagers. And Stan's well, what about we do it in this book that's already getting canned? Amazing Fantasy. It's going to be in the last issue, because Amazing Fantasy was a book that was split into 2 stories anyway, as a lot of books at that time were. And Martin Goodman signed off on it. And then the rumor goes that the book sold so well that Martin Goodman was hey, what about this? But the way the market worked back then, I don't know how true that is. I don't know what the returns were in the 60s and all that kind of stuff, so who the hell knows? Well, I've become more skeptical about people saying about the sales of a thing based on my experience now and how that possibly could have worked back in the day.
Well, 12 cents a pop.
Yeah, well, that book's worth some serious coin now.
Oh yeah, I can imagine so.
And from there, after Amazing Fantasy 15, Spider-Man spun out into his own series, Amazing Spider-Man #1, which is about to reach an 800-issue milestone. But we're not going to cover it today. But what I think is really interesting, just if you look at the way that comics are now, on the cover of Amazing Spider-Man #1, it's look at the Fantastic Four and this new guy, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because the Fantastic Four was the flagship book. They're we got to make sure people buy this Spider-Man thing. Quick, get the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Somebody call up the doctor. Get Reed Richards over here.
Can you imagine a bigger book than the Fantastic Four? I mean, at the time, yes, it makes sense. But looking at it in today's standards, God, will Spider-Man sell? Call Reed.
Yeah. Reed, can you mansplain this to people, please?
But yeah, that is kind of the background and origin of some questionable stuff, some possibly sensationalized answers just for the sake of entertainment. But from there, we move into the first half of Amazing Fantasy 15. We're not going to talk about the second half because it's not in this book.
All right, well, there it is. So anyway, well, it's pretty much, if you've seen the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, this is
pretty faithful.
Pretty darn accurate, pretty darn true to it. We meet Peter Parker right out of the gate, being a loser around campus, so that's cool.
Pale one, you suck!
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, gang, we need one more guy for the dance. How about Peter Parker? I guess not. Peter, he's a professional wallflower.
I need to see some of this dialogue. I can't read upside down, man.
Some of it, well, I can read upside down. It's the teacher in me. Yeah.
All right, then I'm going to do it.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm not that much of a jerk.
Then we got Uncle Ben, old wrinkly Uncle Ben, on death's door.
Tousling a young boy's hair.
Yeah, and then getting a breakfast of wheat cakes, his favorite, from Aunt May, and he's all dressed up, ready to go for the day. And what immediately happens to Peter? Well,
who calls them wheat cakes?
Well, maybe they're pancakes made of wheat. Anyway, you can have wheat pancakes, dude. That's a thing.
Oh, we already skipped the line where I love about describing Peter. Can he go to the dance? You kidding? That bookworm wouldn't know a cha-cha from a waltz.
That's some classic Stan Lee right there.
Swinging 60s. Stan knows how the kids talk, dagnabbit.
Yes. He's going to have a malt with them down at the diner. And we've got his science professor who, well...
approves of Peter.
He really approves of Peter, but he also looks like Galactus.
He has a big head?
He has a giant head. his forehead extends halfway up. His head is like 1/3 forehead, maybe closer to 2/3 forehead.
Peter asks out a young gal, Sally, for a date, and she's like, I'm not interested in you, Peter, not when dreamboats like Flash Thompson are around.
Oh yeah, and Flash, he's got the giant sweater and the tee, and he's telling Peter to go away, and Peter's like, but the science exhibit should be really cool. And then Flash is right on point here. Stick to the science, son. We'll take the chicks.
Well, little do you know, Sally, who has turned down Peter for Flash, that Flash is going to become a terrible alcoholic, crash a car, ruin his life.
Oh, you mean Biff Tannen?
Then join the military, get his legs blown off, and then become Venom and be a hero.
Oh.
So I guess it all worked out in the end for old Flash. But that alcohol thing was...
So Biff Tannen and him are kind of the same for a little bit, and then they diverge.
Yeah. Actually,
no love for the Biff Tannen reference.
I like Biff.
He did get drunk and crash his car, and his life was never the same.
With Flash Thompson, and now it's been out there, but that was one of the more surprising issues of comics I've ever read. I forget when that came out. That must have been like 2007, 2008. But you have like Flash going through his entire time going off to Afghanistan or Iraq, I don't remember now. But you go through the whole thing, and then the end of the book comes. This character's been around since 1962, that he lost both of his legs, and it hits you hard. It was such a big shock and this massive gut punch. And following this book, I'm it's fine because there's been 800 issues of Spider-Man. If you want an issue about Flash, that's fine. But it was just going on and going on. I'm like, where are we going with this? And they cut to the end. I was like, holy crap! It was one of the more powerful war stories I've ever read.
Oh,
not that I've read a ton of them, but that one was right up there. For this big twist shock ending, and not something that they've never gone back on it. And now you have legs. When he's Venom can create the legs, and he was with the Guardians of the Galaxy for a while. And they kind of gave him mechanical ones, but they've never been you sacrifice part of your body for your country. They've never rebuffed on that, which I think is smart. It's been about 10 years now.
They didn't retcon his legs back.
That's happened before in comics. Rhodey got all blown up once. There was a while he was half robot, underneath the War Machine armor, but now he's fine. He's just a guy. Well, when I say he's fine right now, he's actually dead right now. But beyond that, his body was fine.
Oh, wow, okay.
Aside from the being dead thing, he's fine.
Oh, poor Rhodey.
Thanos killed him.
Anyway.
Spoilers for Infinity War. Thanos gets him. Boy, did you really give him one of those Wakanda heal everything balls for his broken spine like they did for everyone else?
Yeah, they should have.
Since he's walking around with his robot legs.
Wakanda heal everything balls.
Hey, it's what they did.
They really do.
Stick it in a neck, heals your legs.
Oh, I read an article that definitely thinks to confirm that the Soul Gem is in Wakanda.
Was that the BuzzFeed one?
Yes.
Yeah, my wife told me about that one, and I rebutted it. They're like, okay, a guy watched a bunch of movies over a long weekend. Ooh, he's an expert.
Sounds like you.
I spend time with things.
Fair enough. Do you believe the Thanos theory that each of the stones represents a letter in Thanos' name?
No.
Okay.
Moving on. They all drive away. They're like, we got the chicks. You can go to science.
And have fun. Give our regards to the Atom Smashers. I will say this about Stan, though. Is he was kind of ahead of it, ahead of or on par with the times science, or looking forward scientifically, at least from what I've read.
Don't look into what Stan thinks about magnets.
Oh, okay.
Magnetism does everything in Stan's world.
Well, magnets are very powerful. The Earth's magnetic field protects us from the sun.
I'm just thinking about, watch Breaking Bad, or you watch 3 episodes with me, but just a giant, woo, magnets, bitch.
Okay, well, there it is.
Whatever. But Peter, who's just a jackass in this, just runs away crying. Someday I'll show them, sob. Someday they'll be sorry that they laughed at me. So Peter Parker, future serial killer.
Yeah, Peter pretty much is I'm going to use the power of science to make these people's lives miserable. I'm going to cure some obscure disease and not give it to them. That's Peter.
I'm going to Martin Shkreli this and just jack it up 7,000%.
Ooh,
and then cry in court when you're sentenced like a bitch.
Current events with Zach.
I don't like him.
Well,
who does? Who likes Shkreli?
Shkreli likes Shkreli.
Does he?
Is he a Skrull?
Makes sense.
I said it correctly this time.
You did.
You're welcome.
Shkreli.
Anyway, so Peter's at this lab, and they have this weird set of red balls that are going to shoot atoms between each other. And nobody in this lab has any protection, by the way, FYI.
So
what's to prevent them from getting irradiated with the same powers that this spider gets? Just a question.
This is a real thing. There is a story, alternate timeline, where Peter Parker kills Mary Jane because of his radioactive semen. Not making that up.
I wish you were.
Yeah, so do I. That's a terrible story.
Well,
so to answer your question, in some timelines, kills her with cancer.
Well, you know what? Should have wrapped it up with a little lead-lined Jimmy stalking.
Oh, good, lead. That will help.
Well, that's what stops radiation. And Spider-Man couldn't see his wee-wee.
Man.
Well, I'm thinking of things that prevent the movement or exposure of radiation. A lead diaphragm.
Okay, we're moving on.
But you could, wrap the lead up in something that's also protected.
Okay, so this is, what, paint? Like a lead-based paint?
It's like, stir up a little lead paint, make a lead paint chip, and... Anyway...
a spider descends from the ceiling.
And bites Peter. Shocking. I never knew that's how he got his powers. But they happen relatively quickly. And even the scientists laugh at him like, oh, Peter has a weak stomach because we just gave we just nuclearized this spider in front of his eyes and he's shocked by it.
Gave him radioactive semen and he's sad.
Yeah. Well, it's not like Peter was getting laid at the time anyway. So he's walking across the street and jumps out of the way of this car. Somebody calls him I believe it's an egghead. Yeah, an egghead. Then Peter leaves his books behind and jumps up and attaches himself to a wall, now realizing he has special abilities.
It's so weird. It's such an awkward line. This car is driving towards him. Peter jumps out of the way. It's so weird. That was one egghead who won't daydream anymore when he crosses the street. And his buddy in the car seems to agree with this clever one-liner. He goes, you can say that again.
Yeah, here's
Stanley, everyone. Master of natural dialogue.
Yeah. Also saying my body is charged with some sort of fantastic energy. It's that radioactive semen, isn't it?
Okay, we gotta drop this now. We've said that word too many times.
I've said it a couple of times. You've said it multiple times.
It's too many.
Anyway, Spider-Man crawls up the side of a building to his delight and the dismay of a young child whose mother says, I'm never taking you to another horror movie. Which is just really poor parenting on her part, because this young kid is 10, maybe? He's also...
How tall do you think 10-year-olds are? Because he's at hip height.
Okay, so he's 6, 7... Too young to be going to horror movies. Maybe it should be that's the last time I give you any of these hallucinogens, young man. So Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's not really Spider-Man yet, figures out that, I've got some really cool abilities. I've got to do something with them. So where's he going to go? Obviously, to a wrestling show.
Where he has to survive 3 minutes in the ring with Crusher Hogan.
And Crusher Hogan's beating some guy's ass. Peter runs home, changes, and goes back. Meanwhile, who knows how many people Crusher Hogan's beat?
I think this time he's probably tired. I mean, you can only go so many rounds. I don't care how big you are.
That's a good point, yeah. He's got a weird bald smile, and yeah, he looks just kind of weird in that picture. So Peter goes to work against Crusher Hogan.
Wearing a fishnet stocking.
Yes, for a face. Looking like he's right straight out of Pirates of the Penzance.
And he wins the 3 minutes.
So it's not Bonesaw McGraw, kids. It was Crusher Hogan.
And we see I don't know.
TV executive.
We'll call him a mogul. This could be just the deal we're looking for. See, it's the 1960s, but somehow I look like I'm from the 40s.
I must make money off of this, yes. So he pays Peter and says, hey, how would you like to be on TV? Because that's really what Spider-Man should be about, is being on TV as part of some sort of freak show. But even later that afternoon, Peter finds some time. It's been a really busy day when you think about it, to create his own webbing and a device in which to shoot the webbing.
And the costume. In a quick afternoon. He's quite the seamstress / inventor.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. And still finds time to get his physics homework done.
And I know you're against it. It's a little overdone in here. I like the webbing under the arms. In this first issue, it's a little too long. It goes all the way down almost to his wrist. It's mid forearm, but I do kind of like the subtle webbing under the arms at points. But that's just me. It's a design choice.
I also like when he's tired. Come get some crackers and milk. You look tired. Would you like some crackers and milk?
I sure would love some carbs with some animal fat.
Yes, please.
Moving on to part 2, because that's what we did in the early 60s. Books were broken up into chapters, even though this is a 15-page thing.
Well, and the panels aren't numbered, so.
So we moved up from 1938.
Yes, by a few years. So anyway, Peter's on the TV doing all these fantastic shows.
Which is weird, because the people are like, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and I still don't believe it. Yeah, technically the Marvel Age of Comics had only been around for about a year at this point, but still, they've already established a number of heroes. The idea of, especially in New York, superheroes in New York, who'd guess it?
You would, Stan. You would.
Yeah. But Peter does all of his amazing tricks, gets paid, and then, that fateful night.
Yes, as he's getting ready to leave, and all these people are trying to, give him offers to be in Time Magazine or Life Magazine or whatever, and so on and so forth. Some guy robs the TV executive and just kind of runs out, and Peter's like, oh, go ahead. And the guy's like, I made it. And the cop's like, you should have stopped him. Well, you should have done your job.
To be, in all fairness to the at least the Sam Raimi movie, at least they gave like Peter a reason to like not want to stop the criminal. He has, you know, his own little vendetta against the guy that's being robbed. And this, he's just like, to heck with it, I don't care.
Yes. So anyway, Peter continues to show off. Well, Spider-Man, I should say, continues to show off on TV. And you get different newspapers, the Daily Chronicle, the Voice, the Daily Voice, the Viewer, and so on. Notice that we don't have the Daily Bugle yet.
No, and we've read the first appearance, which I forget the name of that, but it didn't get the name of the Daily Bugle for a little bit, even when we get Jameson in issue 2, which we've read before.
Yes, we did, back in the day.
Peter returns home to find that Uncle Ben is dead, and he's sad about it.
Yeah, and so what does he do? Well, he does what every geeky nephew who just got superpowers would do. He goes on a vendetta to the Acme warehouse. Acme? What's all these Acme?
Why not?
Acme's everywhere.
He catches him, recognizes that it's the man that he let go in a panel that I've never really liked, because this is the only panel in this entire issue where Spider-Man has pupils.
Yeah, it's very off-putting.
He's like, it can't be the man I let go. I think it's supposed to show like extra shock and surprise, but
it doesn't look. It looks like somebody took put pinholes in his picture on like the school bulletin board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more jarring than anything. And he hangs up the criminal only to say that it's his own fault and he'll stop crime from now on.
He's going to use his powers for good and not for revenge on people who are mean to him. And
even within
not for self-gain.
This first issue, we don't say that it's like Uncle Ben that said it to him, but we have the caption box saying the whole, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
The end.
Yay, Spider-Man.
I think it's interesting how faithful most adaptations, and everyone has kind of been to this, especially like around this time, because you'll get variations on different stuff just for some characters that were like the 61, 62 range, like the Fantastic Four. Have we done that origin yet?
No.
It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. They just run onto a military base and steal a rocket and go to space and they get powers. There's not a ton of reason. I mean, it was like to beat the Ruskies to space.
Speaking of like rocket and trying to get to space, did you see this guy who's a flat earther who tried to launch himself into space with a steam cannon?
Nope.
A steam rocket. Yeah, he got like...
Missed that.
He got like less than 2,000 feet up in the air and then landed really hard and injured himself.
I mean, the Fantastic Four one is a little questionable and that's been retooled over time. The Hulk one, kind of the same deal. Like, he jumps in front of a bomb by pushing a kid into a ditch and the kid's fine. The ditch stopped it and he survives this blast. Like, a lot of these early origins have been retooled to a point over the years, but the Spider-Man one has stayed consistent.
I will say this, though. You get it in the Sam Raimi one. You get the fights the wrestler, gets bit by the spider.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of get a little bit of that with the Andrew Garfield one, but you don't get the wrestler.
They changed that one a bit, and they gave him that abysmal costume.
Yes.
Hate that costume.
Then you also have the, what I liked about with Spider-Man Homecoming is you get Peter again. You get kind of the different take on the origin. We don't really have to see him get bit by the spider. We don't see that it's possible he did do the wrestling thing.
And I don't know I haven't watched a Spider-Man cartoon in a hell of a lot of years. I don't know what they do anymore, but I assume that, like, most kids have seen, or at least partially aware of what the origin is.
Yeah.
But it's been a pretty consistent origin since 1962, so that's, pretty good run.
I thought the Sam Raimi one was probably the one that stayed most true to it.
Yeah.
And I still think the Sam Raimi run of movies are probably the best Spider-Man movies, minus Spider-Man 3. I don't hate Spider-Man 3.
I haven't watched it in many, many years, but my memory serves, the early 90s Spider-Man cartoon was very faithful.
That's not the one that all the memes come out of.
No, that was the 60s one.
Those are some awesome memes.
Amazing. Yeah, but I remember that cartoon being pretty faithful. I remember like the spider bite and him going to TV and stuff like that and doing things. But it's kind of amazing what would get crammed into like 15 pages. Like, it's everything. That's the story in a nutshell. We get, even within those 15 pages, we get a full arc of change for Peter, because he starts off as kind of a jackass.
Well, he still has his jackass moments afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a saint, but we still get a full arc within that limited number of pages. And we didn't really talk about the art. It's still relatively early Ditko stuff. You can see his style. He has a very wiry style, and it's very interesting comparing his stuff to Kirby's. Like, I don't know, Kirby has a more solid kind of characterization. Like, you can almost feel a lot of the impact behind it, where you can feel more of the movement in Ditko's art, I guess would be the way to describe it. And this is early Ditko. He gets way better down the road. It's certainly not his best by any stretch, but it's interesting to always see that evolution of an artist. And Stan, boy, he can't write teenagers.
No, but I was going to say, despite that, still Stan is a tremendous writer.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he tells a good story.
We didn't see it in this, but the way Stan always writes teenager, and you can almost hear him saying it, is he'll write teen-ager. That's like how far set away he is from teenagers. Like those teen-agers. But we don't get that in this one. We didn't get the hyphen in Spider-Man, though, in any of the text, which is a thing you wouldn't see these days.
No, because he becomes hyphenated after a while.
Like
Man-Bat.
Yes, Man-Bat is hyphenated. Get off Man-Bat.
I wasn't on him. I'm just talking about him. At least it wasn't Detective Chimp.
You haven't seen him.
No.
It's amazing. He has a little hat.
I'll Google him later. No, I liked it. I think, it's not a bit. It's a quick read, and it's one of those seminal comics. Spider-Man is one of those pillar iconic characters in superherodom, and it's a short read about the origin of Spider-Man.
I like it personally. There's certainly better ones out there, but I can see the appeal.
Yeah,
right from the get-go.
It's a great novelty read.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great nostalgia read.
That's kind of the fun of doing these kind of origin issues, is seeing what's different, what's changed in Spider-Man. Boy, that again, I think I wrote an article along those lines. They opened with the formula, it didn't really change.
Yeah,
strong building blocks. Read it if you haven't, or just watch any movie or TV show and you'll get the origin yourself. It's fine.
Yeah, gets bit by a spider, gets magical powers.
Yeah,
not magical powers, fantastic energy.
From there,
coursing through his body.
Let's move on to letters to the editors.
Lot of questions, number one. Damn few answers.
Here's another one of your letters to the editors.
Make it so.
Also, please write us more letters.
I feel like this is a common thing.
It has been the last couple of weeks because we're surviving right now.
Okay,
well,
isn't that true?
Motif of the business.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, if you could send more letters, it would be greatly appreciated. In person, Twitter, email.
Carrier pigeon, smoke signal.
I mean, preferably something I can read, but yeah.
The smoke signal you have to kind of be paying attention to as well.
So I'm going to open this one with...
What if they wrote a question to us on those giant construction billboards that are going up over Hollowell now? Construction starts, you'll be like, question, Zach.
Well, wait till they get up the big panel so no one from the street can see what the hell is happening in the businesses.
But they're going to paint murals on them.
They asked if I wanted to do that. I said no.
What?
I was like, you don't want to see what I have to offer artistically.
You need to get some sort of comic book painting up on there. You can get somebody to put something up there.
And that's what I was told, that they would do something, but I was like, you don't want me to do it.
No, but you want somebody to do something for your shop.
I want to put an addendum to an answer to a question you asked me a couple weeks ago, because that will lead into this.
Okay.
You asked me, hey, well, if you don't like Demon in the Bottle that much as an Iron Man story, you're like, what one should I read? And then I was the second the show, and I'm like, damn it, I can't believe I missed the obvious answer.
What was that?
The obvious answer is 2005's Warren Ellis run Extremis. 6 issues was kind of the basis for Iron Man 3. Also a big basis for Iron Man 1. That was when Tony Stark's origin was retooled. When Yinsen was introduced as a character and they kind of reworked everything in that. Extremis is the best Iron Man story of all time.
Okay.
I said, I don't know, do this stuff after Civil War screwed up. Definitely should have said Extremis. That's my addendum before our question.
All right.
I don't think we've done this one before. I hope we haven't.
Oh, if we have, it's been a long time.
It was an email that I lost, but I tucked it away in my brain.
Okay.
Why has Marvel screwed up so many good Iron Man stories in the movies? So Iron Man 1, partially based on Extremis, not the latter half. The latter half, I forgot the name of the story, of Obadiah Stane dying and all that. Probably because it wasn't a story, it's probably just a single issue. Iron Man 2 we read a little bit of, partially based on Demon in a Bottle. Iron Man 3 going back to more the latter half of Extremis with the actual Extremis virus, and Tony coming up against an enemy that will beat his technology at every turn, so he has to combine his technology with the Extremis virus, experimenting on himself, and something that was sorely missed from the movie. In the movie, he's fighting the guy in the president in Air Force. I was going to say the president's jet. Air Force One.
Yeah, that's the president's jet.
Where he uses his arc reactor to do the unibeam, blast the guy through the chest. Comparatively, in the book, that same scene happens, but he blows his head off. Which, quite frankly, these Marvel movies are missing decapitations. We need more of them.
There was one in the Deadpool trailer.
Yeah, that's Fox Marvel.
Oh.
Soon to be not Fox Marvel.
Is it Farvel?
Knox Marvel.
Farvel or Marvox?
I stand by Knox Marvel.
Okay.
Soon to be. But yeah. So why is Marvel screwing up so many good Iron Man storylines?
Because they only have 2.5 hours to put everything in, and there's a larger window and scope of things that they're trying to accomplish with the Infinity story arc, so...
I would say they're not.
Okay.
Well, just Tony Stark, especially in the comics, pre and post Iron Man 1, are two different guys. Like, Iron Man in the comics for a long time was a real somber, like, bland character. Like, the fun of an Iron Man book wasn't Tony. Tony was fucking boring. Seeing what the different Iron Man suits were and what they could do was the interesting part of reading an Iron Man book. Tony was not the focus. He was, like, bland. But then after Iron Man 1 happened, then the character was totally retooled to be, like, Downey.
Thank you, Downey.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Because, I mean, it's nice to be in there for two different things instead of just the one. So, if anything, I think the Iron Man movies helped enhance the books a bit.
But you also got to thank Jon Favreau for writing Iron Man that way a little bit, too.
And that first part of Iron Man is really right out of Extremis. Like, the retooled origin is what we see in Iron Man 1. And in Iron Man 2, we don't get the full example of Demon in the Bottle. We don't deal with his alcoholism because he's still a heavy drinker in the movies. But as much as I'm not really a fan of it, I don't hate it, but I'm not, like, a super fan of the movie. The full Demon in a Bottle storyline is kind of heavy for a kid's movie. Like, hey, would you like to go see your new favorite colorful superhero? These are the threats of alcoholism.
He's a drunk.
And then when we get in Iron Man 3, which we get kind of the later half of Extremis, a lot of people don't like that movie. I do. And I think they took kind of a serious book and took the director's sensibilities, a guy who I have always appreciated his sense of humor, so I'm kind of fine with it. Those are my thoughts. We should have read Extremis, but that's fine.
Well, there's plenty of time left. The show goes on for the rest of time.
I don't know. What do you think about switching up things and doing them beat for beat?
I think...
There, I modified it for you.
I don't like it. I like you said, show me something new, but also give me some familiar things. I think with Spider-Man, especially with the Sam Raimi stuff, they went, kind of beat for a while, but then they kind of splinter off and they tell a Green Goblin story. That's a kind of a different Green Goblin story than we probably had seen before. And then you've got a great Doc Ock story that's...
Yeah, he didn't have a motorcycle helmet in the comics.
Yeah, so you've got that. So, I mean, you've just got... I think there's so many different ways to do a comic book movie well. I think you've got to do a couple of things because you're placating to multiple audiences because you want to make money. They're making these movies to make money and to entertain, and you want to entertain the largest crowd you can. And if you only cater to the crowd that wants it beat for beat and straight out of the book gospel truth, you're going to shut off a larger contingent of people.
Well, why do I want to see that, though? I like seeing references and things that are familiar.
But you want to see something new.
Well, I even like seeing things, as the snobby people go, like, oh, like the mass audience can still enjoy that, but they're not going to get it at the same level that I get it, and that's kind of nice. But at the same time, I think there was, going back a couple of years, a canceled TV show at this point, but there was a Stephen King book, Under the Dome, and then the ending sucks. Great book, bad ending.
Okay.
It was aliens.
Spoiler alert.
Don't care. Came out years ago. I don't know how the show ended because I did not care.
Aliens.
Probably.
Most likely.
But people were complaining to Stephen King. Like, I watched the first bit of the show, and I was kind of seeing the online reaction. And things from, like, episode 1, totally, characters who died immediately, like, had these full arcs that were, like, going on to do other things. And people were yelling at Stephen King, like, it's different! And he goes, yep. I'm not going to get the quote exactly. He's like, anything that's happening on this TV show doesn't change a single word of what I wrote in the book. If you like what I wrote in the book is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like that attitude.
Yeah.
Which I think also stands true for comics.
I think the movies can be
I've gotten like 50 emails this show. What's happening here?
Maybe the people are sending us questions.
That'd be nice. It'd be so funny if we have a new letter in here, we're answering it
Go
live.
Ahead, open it up.
I bet it's not that.
We'll do it live.
No, that's our receipt for seeing Ready Player. Oh my, we got one.
What?
We got one,
we
baby.
Got the email during the show?
Yes.
All right. Considering the show's not live.
Someone added a photo to my business listing that's not my business, so that's weird. Oh, okay. Someone did. It was from the outside of the shop. Unrelated.
Yes.
Should we say this one or?
No, let's be men of our word.
I have to do research on that one.
Okay. So we'll answer it next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm going to do it.
All right, let's go.
We just got this email while we were doing the show. Also from the same guy who wrote us that Iron Man question, but that's fine.
All right, well, you know what? He's got questions, and we've got attempts at answers.
Please, you know what? This is just a coincidence. I shouldn't have committed to this. Keep sending us stuff. When did Stan Lee stop writing comics? Or stop being involved with the production? Okay. You're not going to help me out much on this one.
No.
Just react here.
Okay.
Originally, Stan Lee stopped writing comics originally. I'll go further back. Originally, when Stan went into the company, he was like the cousin of someone who was involved with Timely Comics, the precursor to Marvel. And then he got a job working for Martin Goodman, who was the publisher for years. And he started as like a low-level assistant for he got Jack Kirby his coffee.
Okay.
Stan didn't really start writing stuff until he was about 35 or 40. And that was mostly romance books. Then he wanted to quit the company, did Fantastic Four, and kind of took off from there, mostly doing things with Jack Kirby, some stuff with Steve Ditko, eventually going into stuff with like John Romita Sr. He first stopped writing books because Stan always kind of hated comics. Hate is a strong word. Stan was always embarrassed by comics. So after doing about 130 odd issues of the Fantastic Four, Stan left to write a movie script. And he left the company for about 4 to 6 months, and the script never happened. He also wrote a book at some time. I'm not quite sure when that was. He has one book under his belt, sometime in the late 60s, early 70s, I think. Stan came back, stopped doing as much writing. You can kind of feel like in the early to mid 70s that his heart kind of goes out of it. He turns into more of an editor, eventually taking over the Martin Goodman role. Then he leaves the company, I want to say, in the 80s officially. He's trying to sell Marvel scripts. He wants to get into movie making more than he wants to be involved in comic books. For as much as like Marvel and Stan are like, yay, we love each other, there were a bunch of lawsuits during this time as well about like who owns what, who has the rights to things. Stan, for a long time, would always, throughout the 90s and even through the mid-2000s, periodically pop up and do like a one-shot or a backup or something. I think, for the most part, I would have to double-check this, I think his last official scripting jobs were in 2007. I think he has cancer in one of his eyes. Like, his vision is basically gone at this point.
Yeah.
Like, especially doing the Marvel method. The Marvel method was the artist would, Stan and the artist would talk. They would plot it together. The artist would draw the pages, and then Stan would fill in the dialogue. He can't really do that if he can't see the pages.
Yeah.
So I think he stopped officially writing around 2007.
So they didn't, not like I saw with, the Kevin Smith stuff where he, wrote basically, a movie script with the dialogue, and then the artist took that and drew to it. Marvel would draw it, the writer and the artist would sit and be like, okay, I want this, and I want this, I want this, and then he would fill the dialogue afterwards.
Yeah, that's referred to as Marvel method, because other companies didn't do it that way, where it would be drawn, then Stan would fill in the dialogue. So he kind of stopped around early 70s, but then he came back, but more in an editorial role, but still would do books, and then the one-shots, and kind of I think 2007 was the last batch of books he did was, if memory serves, that was entirely off the top of my head.
That's well done. That's an impressive pull.
I'm sure there's a few things in there that aren't wrong. Don't take that as gospel.
That aren't wrong or are wrong.
Whatever, man. I can't even get English right.
Oh, well, good. Well, look at that. We answered a question on the fly during the show.
Send us more.
Yes, please.
Just because I was getting so many emails. I'm like, what are all these?
Speaking of send us more, you should visit us at Editors Note, patreon.com/Editors Note Comics.
Yeah.
$1 a week. We'll get you this show. $1 a month. Sorry. We'll get you this show a day early, or you can get the other show a whole week early still.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah,
yes?
It is.
Oh, the Buffy Back issue, Ben.
Yeah, that one's coming back this week. It's already out on Patreon, but so next week it'll be out for the public.
Oh, for the non-paying moocher public.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you enjoy drinking things that have a recyclable amount on them, look, man, I'm getting into the construction zone. It's time to push the clink bags again. Clink bags have been a big savior for me in the past. They're great. They are great. They're so helpful. If you're interested and you pick up a bag at the store, you dump your recyclables in, you bring it back to like a Hannaford or a Shaw's, money goes into the store, and that will help keep me afloat during this terrible construction period.
Is this why you drink so much at home? To fill your own clink bags and pay yourself?
I gotta tell you, when you were over the weekend, boy, that was a good payday for the store.
Thank you for hosting. Aren't you glad that you hosted this? All these people. So construction does start after Easter in Hollowell and Water Street. The store is going to stay open, though.
6 days a week.
6 days a week, and you can still get to the store. So don't be discouraged by all the construction. There'll be places to park, and you can still get to the store, get your stuff.
I guess we'll see what it looks like. I really, again, planning versus execution. I'm not going to speak in...
Well, from what I understand, that the main detour will be across 2nd Street, which is just above Water Street, and that'll follow all the way down to Academy. So It's not too far away from the store. You can park, I think, probably like at the Hollowell Antique Mall, and still that's a quick walk over right next to Lucky Garden.
I think they said they're opening up another lot too as well.
So it won't be that far of a walk. In fact, parking might be easier than trying to park on Water Street to get to the store.
We'll see. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on iTunes. If you could rate, review, subscribe, that's always appreciated. And you're on Twitter.
At Junior Rich.
We'll be back next week to talk Spielberg's attempt at pop culture again.
Yeah, we're going to the movies this week.
We are.
Just you and I.
Yeah.
A movie date.
No one else cared.
I'm not getting popcorn for you.
Oh, that small popcorn you're
small
getting?
popcorn with all my movie credits.
That's for you.
And we'll have a better way to articulate the best way to get to the store during the construction period.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome / Hollowell.
Do I have Tina Turner?
You can have Tina Turner.
Okay.
She's dead, but I mean, you can still have her.
Fair. We'll be back next week for Ready Player One.
Is it bad that What's Love got to do with it just popped into my head?
Ready Player Fun.
Yeah!